And welcome to a 1 o'clock news update. Let's look at the developments around the country at this hour. And we start with the memorial service ongoing currently. Friends and relatives of the late politician Simeon Nyachai have gathered at the Maxwell Adventist Church in Nairobi for a memorial service in honor of the late cabinet minister. Speakers have been eulogizing Nyachai as a true servant leader who carried himself out with integrity. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and ODM leader Raila Odinga are among several leaders present, and currently the Interior CS is speaking. Let's listen
in their lives. I frankly do not think there is anyone I know who has educated the number of people that Mzee Nyachai educated. And I'm not shy to say this here in public. When you look at the education and the professional profile of the Kisii community, you have to address the Nyachai factor. The Nyachai factor is the resources that Mzee Nyachai mobilized and pumped into the education and professional development of our people. Incredibly generous and always available to support anyone who needed support. And I had this unique opportunity of having a front row seat in his life and seeing him in action. As I often say in public life, I am still using Mzee Nyachai's notes, even as I serve as cabinet minister. And I will cling on to those notes for a long time. In the last 8 years that I've been in cabinet, there has never been a time, until about a year ago when Mzee became sick and we couldn't speak very regularly, there wasn't a time, a stretch of time, that I did not either consult him, or he called me, or he actually never called, he summoned us to make demands on us on a number of things. And for my cabinet colleagues who are here, I took all the beating for your mistakes. And anytime you spoke out of turn, I am the one who was called and told how badly we are behaving, or how it was felt that we are not supporting the president enough. Because Mzee may have retired as a PC and as head of public service, but the head of public service in him did not leave. And the chief secretary in him never parted. Always in control and always in charge of things, and always very clear in his mind on what needs to be done. As I said, it will take a long time to comprehensively verbalize what Mzee Nyachai meant to very many people, including myself. As I conclude, I just want to ask, first of all, thank my mothers who are here and my brothers and sisters from the Nyachai family. I thank you on behalf of the hundreds of young people who passed through Mzee Nyachai's hands. Thank you for sharing your father with us. And thank you.
Interior CS Fred Matiang'i giving his eulogy on the late Simeon Nyachai. Vincent Odori is following up on this story and will be giving us the highlights from there. Former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is still unwell and may not be able to attend his court hearings. This is according to his lawyer, Dr. John Haminwa, who has also moved to block criminal and terrorism charges against Sonko. In the application, Sonko wants the courts to put on hold terrorism charges, which he is yet to plead to, saying the charges are trumped up and amount to political persecution. Sonko also wants the court to order his immediate release pending the determination of the petition. Sonko was taken to hospital following the suspension of his case after Chief Magistrate Diana Mochache ordered that he be taken or hospitalized for medical examination. Let's get into some of the active politics and the words that are being thrown across at each other. And this latest spat is between the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and former Machakos Senator Johnson Muthama, where the exchange nearly turned physical during a burial ceremony attended by both leaders, and this was yesterday. Kalonzo had taunted Muthama over the Machakos County Senate by-election in which Muthama's ex-wife is candidate. Kennedy Mureithi reports.
But in all things, I can see it in our next year. I mukona mudha mazembeta tuwe kidhui nikia Kalonzo na kwasa sawa. Nondo niwe sibala tuwe na tuende tabau. Ona akalalia tuwe bae ulumbo nanga mutungia kibeti chake nemwe kibeti tiki ni senator.
That statement nearly caused a fist fight between Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and former Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe.
Muthama is seen charging towards the stage when the other leaders stop him. But even with the intervention, Kalonzo was not done with him.
I think we now hand over Bishop Mulwa to you.
There has been heightened tension between the two since the Wiper Party picked Agnes Kavindu Muthama, who is Muthama's ex-wife, to be its flag bearer in the Machakos Senate by-election. Leaders who attended the burial calling for restraint.
Umeona vile Kenya imeharibika, wengine walianza kupigana pale juzi Kisii, mtu anainuka anapiga mwingine ngumi kwa mazishi, na hata yule alipiga ngumi ndio alitandikwa zaidi kuliko wale wengine. Tabia mbaya. Kwa hivyo ni tabia ambayo hatuhitaji.
For Kalonzo and Muthama, it is a battle of wits. For Muthama, he is seeking to entrench himself as the region's kingpin and upstage Kalonzo as he also seeks to introduce Deputy President William Ruto to the region. For Kalonzo, he seeks to cement his position as the kingpin. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.
And following this and many other spats between politicians, the NCIC, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, has called on Kenyans and political leaders to exercise restraint. We have some of the latest addresses on this issue from today, and we'll be bringing that a bit later. But first things first, on the BBI, and there is a renewed rush to county assemblies or by county assemblies to push the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, especially after the government yielded to their demand for car grants. So far, 3 counties have passed the BBI bill, and the BBI Secretariat that is giving an update at this hour is keen on getting the support from the counties. Kennedy Mureithi reports on the game plan and reception so far from the county level.
This constitution review is proposing a better way.
The rush for the requisite 24 county assemblies is on. County assemblies are now angling to have the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020 either introduced in their assemblies or debated or passed for those that have already engaged the public. Homa Bay County becomes the latest to debate and pass the bill this morning. It joins 2 other counties, that is Kisumu and Siaya, who passed the bill last week.
We encouraged our women to walk out from the kitchen. They should fight for their rights. They should fight for their space because the BBI document is giving them that opportunity.
The smallest political unit covered the world is now guaranteed funding of development projects through the supreme law of the land, the Constitution.
In Kirinyaga, Governor Anne Waiguru is calling on the assembly to prioritize the bill, as she claims it seeks to better the lives of the residents.
As a county, we stand to benefit in many ways from the BBI proposals. Firstly, the allocation to counties will increase from the current 15% to 35%. In Kirinyaga, we will receive an increment in our equitable share allocation from the current 4 billion to 8 billion shilling.
According to the governor, the passage of the document would also assure the president a legacy in Mount Kenya.
The provision of a minimum 5% allocation towards Ward Development Fund in Kirinyaga will guarantee at least 400 million to every ward every year.
In Kajiado, MCAs are optimistic that the bill would pass after it was introduced in the assembly, seeing more good than bad in terms of good fortune.
We are not opposed to it. We will pass BBI eventually. But we want to follow the processes that are constitutional. We want to create good time for public participation. We want our members to be trained on it. So from tomorrow, the whole House will be trained for 2 weeks. Next week will be public participation. Then after that, we will pass BBI.
This comes at a time the BBI Secretariat is expected to issue a statement this afternoon on the status of the passage of the bills in assemblies, as it is also expected that they will put in place measures that will ensure the bill is prioritized. NTV has learnt that the target is to have 30 counties pass the constitutional amendment bill by the end of February. Kennedy Muredi, NTV.
The rule of law seems to be under siege. While the government continues to put pressure on the common mwananchi to adhere to the set COVID-19 guidelines, the political class are let to slide while they breach those very guidelines with their ongoing campaign rallies for the BBI and other issues that amass huge gatherings. Helen Aura reports on the double standards.
We are seeing a trend that is growing, where many of our people, young men and women, old, not putting on masks. To many of us, coronavirus is no longer there.
Well, could this be the reason why? Colonel retired Oguna. They lead and Wananchi follow. No social distancing and not everyone masked up. To curb the spread of the deadly coronavirus, such gatherings are in fact illegal.
The Inspector General of Police shall ensure that his officers spare no muheshimiwa, no individual, irregardless of social status or rank, who is either out after curfew without being an essential worker, or who flaunts the health protocols that have been set out.
But the government seems to have washed its hands of taking responsibilities for the lawbreakers and their followers, and prompts by journalists to get answers as to why leaders are not being held accountable for breaking the law resulted in this response.
Security begins with you first and foremost, and therefore it's not practically possible for even the IG to be able to deploy police force in every door or at every door. It is my responsibility. Today, if we are invited for a rally at Uhuru Park and we said that we will not go because we are obeying the containment measures, what will happen? The rallies won't be there.
So what we call for is individual responsibility, not sitting at the back of each and every person with a cane. I don't think it is fair for us.
But what about when the police are able to be on the ground? Despite the presidential directive to suspend all political rallies for a period of 60 days earlier this year, unless approved and in a town hall, and accommodating a maximum of a third of the venue's capacity, the situation on the ground is quite the opposite. Leaders throwing caution to the wind, striving to push their own agenda while amassing the votes. And law enforcers are doing nothing about it. While many also questioned the effectiveness of the current 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew, the government maintained the curfew will remain.
We are still at a rate that we are managing, but the only reason why this is happening is because you have your mask on. That's why. That's why. So we need to realize, and the president ably told us, that you are at your point of weakness when you think that everything is now gone. That is your biggest point of weakness.
Helen Aura, NTV.
And now to security concerns, political leaders from Isiolo, Wajir and Garissa are calling upon residents in the three counties to embrace peace and end periodic strife. This follows the meeting between the leaders of the region and Interior and Coordination CES Fred Matiang'i in January 2021, which sought to bring to an end the resurgence of conflict. In the recent past, there has been re-emergence of conflict between Isiolo North and Wajir West, which has led to death, displacement of households and people, and loss of property.
And this process, as I have said, is part of continuation of what we started last month. We were able as leaders to sit with our counterpart from Garissa, and we said that as far as Isiolo and Wajir is concerned, we shall take it up. So we have members of parliament from Isiolo, the three of us in the National Assembly. Our senator was also to be with us, but because she's engaged in important matters in the Senate, she could not join us. So we want to commit ourselves in terms of ensuring that we bring our communities together.
Tumeamua ya kuwa hii vita ya jangili, hii vita ambao haitakuwa na mwisho kwa wakati wowote, hatuungi mkono hata kidogo.
We are so much pained by the happenings between Isiolo North and Wajir West. As leaders, just like we said before, we will repeat and repeat again that there is no cause, there is no need, absolutely, for our communities to continue fighting over nothing.
It's 16 minutes past 1 o'clock. You're watching NTV at 1. We continue with sports and more after the break.
The Ministry of Health would like to remind all Kenyans that coronavirus is still among us and that we must continue to adhere to all preventative measures to contain the spread of this deadly disease, including proper wearing of face masks.
Avoid wearing your mask under your nose, under your chin, because this doesn't protect you. The droplets can still land in the environment and things can still land on your nose and mouth.
Komesha Corona. Okoa maisha.
New Tuzo Yogurt Cup. Size yako, bei yako.
Maji mdosi wangu ametupa simu yangu ndani ya maji.
Mdosi wako kwa sawa? Venye Nkirota ameniambia ajui na akimpigia simu ashiki. Hi! Guy!
For the women who deserve more, Moped is now in Kenya and more than 40 countries. With its nylon-free surface, new Moped has unique softness and up to 100% protection. Your skin will love it.
Kitty offers cost-effective, weather-resistant quality sheets. Get Gauge 28 at 670 Kenya shillings, Gauge 30 at 370, Gauge 30 Med at 530, Royal Alu-Zinc at 280 Kenya shillings. Buy today and lipa pole pole with a guaranteed delivery countrywide, located along Mombasa Road, Mlolongo, and at different branches in different towns. Call us today on 0722 638383. Royal Mabati Factory Limited. We are the best.
Breaking news from Molfix. Let's see what they're developing right now.
Molfix pants with anatomic fit technology. New Molfix pants, an invention from babies for babies.
You should also try Molfix.
Welcome back. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has identified county government, human resources and procurement departments as areas of rampant corruption in the devolved units. Recruitment of relatives, payment for work not done, use of revenue at source and payment for incomplete work, among other malpractices identified in many county governments. The EACC says it has noted some major weaknesses, loopholes and opportunities for corruption and unethical practices that have been exploited, leading to massive pilferage, wastage and denial of services. The Commissioner has launched a corruption risk assessment report which found that loopholes in procurement process are also being used by unscrupulous workers to carry out corruption deals. EACC says it will embark on educating county staff on legal procedures.
We have done in the other 22 counties. Some of the areas that we see that need a lot of improvement is on human resource. how are people employed? Are we following the procedure when employing people? There's the issue of conflict of interest. You know, are you declaring you have an interest before you make a certain decision? There's a big problem in procurement, how the agencies are doing procurement. So when we do our exercise, we are trying to advise them on how they are supposed to do their procurement, how they are supposed to employ people, and how they are supposed to, and teaching them what is conflict of interest. And conflict of interest is don't sit to make a decision in an area where you have interest, because some of those areas are the most problematic.
It's around lunch hour, and I'm not sure if your choice for meal today is fish, and I'm not sure if this next story will be any reassurance, because marine scientists say the death of fish in Lake Victoria should not be a cause for alarm, but is as a result of ecological changes in the water body shared by Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Climate change and poor land management in the catchment areas are contributing to the fish death that is now in its third week. Bridget Ngana has more.
The mighty waters of Lake Victoria, schools of dead fish float in different sections. An occurrence last witnessed 5 years ago, but the intensity this time has been shocking. Fishermen have been waking up to dead fish, mostly of the Nile perch species, for 3 weeks now across Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. But scientists at the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Research Institute in Kisii County say there is no cause for alarm.
Nile perch has a high oxygen demand physiologically, and this finds it at a disadvantage when the lake mixes from the bottom to the surface. What is causing this mixing? Of course, this is as a result of wind patterns. These are natural occurrences, the wind patterns. There is also the issue of the inflow and outflow of the rivers that are feeding and taking water out of Lake Victoria.
Agricultural activities upstream, coupled with changes in climate, have interfered with oxygen levels in the lake.
The climate change sets in, the intensity of this natural occurrence of the lake, the magnitudes may vary. All stakeholders, both at the dry land and those who are using the aquatic ecosystem, need to be alive to the fact that there is a lot that is coming from the blue economy, and therefore it is very critical to take care of our environment.
In Budalangi, Busia County, fishermen now want the national government to streamline the management of fishing in Lake Victoria, since there are 4 bodies demanding fishing fees from them.
Tuko na local fisheries ambao wanaitwa ni wa county fisheries. Tuko na national fisheries. Sasa tuko na coast guard, tuko na maritime. Hawa watu wote wanafanya kazi moja kwa huyu mvuvi mmoja. Sasa tunashangaa yupi ni yupi. Na kazi ni moja hile hile. Kwa sababu kama ni ushuru, sasa hiyo inakuwa ni mvuvi anakuwa overtaxed.
Boti ambayo inabeba chini ya tani 10 yafaa ilipe $55,000 6,000 za Kenya, ambapo niliona kwamba jambo kama hilo hauwezi ukaja tu ghafla kwa mvuvi atoe kwa dakika moja.
Lake Victoria is the world's largest tropical lake and is a source of livelihood for millions across East Africa. Bridget Ngana, NTV.
Still on concerns of environment, especially for those in the agribusiness. Countries in East Africa and the Horn of Africa region should quickly develop a coordinated regional approach to fight the desert locust invasion if the war against the second wave of the destructive insects is to be a success. According to the government spokesman Cyrus Oguna, collaborative efforts between countries, I should say, is the only surest way to eradicate the desert locust, which first invaded the region in November 2019. And this is to ensure food security in the region is not at risk. Speaking at a separate event, Agriculture CS Peter Munya said the migratory nature of the pest is constraining the war against the locust, which he said was not close to being won and would likely go into June this year.
Are contained within the various areas of jurisdiction, so that if Kenyans are actively containing or combating locusts, it may not amount to much if the neighboring countries are not doing the same. So therefore, it is important that as a country combating locusts, it must also be complemented by equivalent or a same effort by neighboring countries.
Kule zimekuwa nawiri kule Ethiopia na Somalia, hatuna uwezo wa kuingia huko. Ile uwezo tuko naye ni kupambana nazo wakati zimefika huko. Kuna zile zitafika maturity na ziweze kutaga mayai huku, kwa hivyo tupate zile nzige tena ndogo ambazo tena lazima tupambane nazo. Kwa hivyo sisi tunatazamia hii vita si ya mwezi moja ama mbili, tunatazamia kwenda mpaka Juni huko.
Let's get into sports now. Tusker FC forward Henry Major is the club's player of the month of January following his impressive start to the year. The 19-year-old netted 4 goals and provided 1 assist. Major scored the winner against Kakamega Homeboys, a brace and an assist against Kariobangi Sharks, as well as a strike during the win over Zoo Kericho. Major also received a 10,000 shilling shopping voucher, with the club revealing it will be standard for every award moving forward. The youngster has recently been called up to the national team in preparation for the AFCON qualifiers in March. The Brewers are currently top of the Football Kenya Federation League with 26 points from 11 matches played.
Imekuwa poa, timu iko na morali, kila mtu ananipea morali. Alafu kuna wenye tumecheza nao, tumesoma nao huko wa national team. So niko na confidence nikiwa huko, so na wakitumo niweze kuwa kwa squad.
Everton upped the pressure on Jose Mourinho